largely, if you look at the transport cluster and, ACSA being under the transport umbrella, is we have a large influence on the supply side. Developing air connectivity, bringing the airlines and developing that seat capacity into a specific market. Not a lot of credit is given to the airports company, largely because we are mostly seen as a landlord. We provide the infrastructure, the building, and multiple operators operate within our precinct. If you look at the transport, they handle their own operations. When I got to the airport, that was just the final throw. Because I couldn't believe that they had slots right at the boarding gate. I just
so you
couldn't
must
believe.
gamble your last
Your
dollar.
last money. You must leave it in Vegas.
Yeah. Welcome to Gauteng Lifve, a platform where we propagate, converse, and bring you tastemakers and change agents, the people that shapes Africa's golden province vision and its trajectory towards retaining its status. My name is Barba G, your champion host, and as we always do, we bring you these protagonists, change agents. Our guest comes from diverse, backgrounds. They are in aviation, they are in the visitor economy, they are in sports entertainment, they are in the arts, and how all of this intersects to build this ecosystem that continues to propel our golden province to greater heights. Our guest for this segment is no different. My dear brother, the group head for traffic development at Airports Company South Africa, popularly known as ACSA. Mpho, really appreciating your time for making time and being here. Welcome to Gauteng Live.
Thank you, Baba, for having me. It's quite indeed a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Let's do like we always do on this platform. Go a little bit retro. And look at Mpho's background beyond just who is Mpho Rambau, Mpho's education, and how did you end up, being responsible for flooding access routes, with this whole list of airlines.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm Venda by ethnicity or tribe. I grew up in Limpopo.
Okay.
Matriculated there, and then went to varsity at UCT, where I did my undergrad. And later on, having pursued a career in aviation, I did my postgrad with Wits University, and currently completing my master's in business administration.
Lovely.
With Wits still. But I think in terms of my upbringing, I think my first contact with aviation was really playing in the streets and seeing fighter jets flying over and, making those wailing noises. And for me, it was such an intriguing thing. And, I remember the first time I had that experience, we would be asking around as young boys playing with the other guys, what was that? And they would always say it's a Spitfire.
Yes.
And I didn't really know what a Spitfire was.
Yeah.
But, getting exposure to Hollywood and looking at or watching movies, movies such as Independence Day, where, it was all about, Will Smith piloting those fighter jets and being the hero.
Yeah.
I had this goal that I wanted to be a fighter pilot one day.
You wanted to be a pilot of the Spitfire.
Yeah. And so, but then I went to varsity. I, pursued a career in statistics. and that was water under the bridge. But eventually, when I went into the workplace and I was looking for an opportunity to start working after my undergrad, I really had hopes that I would be working maybe for a banking industry. Did a few interviews.
Counting money and not
roots. Not roots. And, it didn't go according to plan, and eventually I got an opportunity to work for South African Airways within their commercial division as a management graduate. And that's where I did most of my training.
Yeah. Wow, what a long journey. Being very deliberate, just with your intentions, and many of our age and contemporaries could attest to, those paper planes that we used to make and enjoy at each other, and hoping that later on that will translate into something, into kites that you build and you play with, and just the mystery about the aeroplane and what it brings beyond babies. But the aeroplane was just a sign of mystery, especially in our black communities, and you find yourselves ultimately in the heart of aviation with SAA. How was it back then, joining SAA, national carrier? Everybody wanted to be there, but surely it should have been, an interesting place for young graduates looking for experiential training.
Yeah. I think my first impression when I got to SAA, given that it wasn't what I had in mind in terms of where I would have actually started my career, was actually surprise. They have what they refer to as the SAA Museum within Airways Park, where they, detail the evolution of the airline. You get to see the old aeroplanes that they were operating back in the days, the sort of product they had in flight, the aeroplanes, and I just got a sense of overwhelmment at the time, just appreciating how much contribution South African Airways has made in the global aviation space.
Absolutely.
Not only South Africa. They have been at the forefront of product development. They were flying jets during the jet age. And they're older than most of the current airlines we regard as one of the best. And so just looking at that history and heritage led me to believe that, it's really quite a big company that maybe not a lot of people appreciate because they just do not know the background and history of the airline. But it was quite an empowering environment. I was hired by a very young executive who was very passionate about youth development, and he really took us under his wing to develop us into future leaders, which I think is where everything started.
Absolutely. Let's now move into especially some of the work you are doing, as the group head for traffic and route development at ACSA. But in particular, the importance of a body like the Gauteng Air Access Network, a multi-stakeholder body that brings government, private sector, business, civil society, and all the road players, under one umbrella to advocate for, increased air access, more connectivity, not just in domestic, but also in international. I guess also learning from other markets on how that gets done.
Yeah. I think my role initially when I joined the company, this was at the back of ACSA realizing that its core business is really the facilitation of passengers and flights through the airports.
Yeah.
But for the longest of time, they had never had a business development unit that is specifically engaged and tasked, mandated with doing that particular work. And it was always tossed around in and between units or departments within the company. And so when they decided to formalize it, I was one of the few employees that were a sort of part of the initial tranche of workers that were employed in the unit. And I think there was a very deliberate strategy to have capacity and resources to be able to determine our own future, to ensure that we are able to grow our core business to levels that would allow us to really have an impact on the country as well as the organization. So I went into such an environment, and what we started learning was how we actually can't do this work by ourselves. Because largely, if you look at the transport cluster and ACSA being under the transport umbrella, is we have a large influence on the supply side. Developing air connectivity, bringing the airlines and developing that seat capacity into a specific market. But there's also a demand side where we need to stimulate the appetite to travel into certain regions and destinations. And that is obviously mandated to tourism authorities, DMOs such as SA Tourism and yourselves as Gauteng Tourism. And essentially we saw that in order for us to have a winning formula, we needed a collaborative framework that allows us to partner with other entities, both in national, provincial and local government, as well as the private sector, to ensure that we are able to create a platform where we are strategically aligning our purposes, our goals and our objectives, and then working towards a common goal to really drive economic growth into our regions.
Absolutely. And how do we now look at that work of the network vis-a-vis, your own mandate, and especially where you might, and especially as you explain it, being responsible for business development, because that's business. And how was the reception at the initial start, especially from airlines partners, whom I guess they have been having this model inbuilt in their operations. Airline survives on expansion of routes. Airline survives on not just carrying passengers but carrying cargo. So the more destination, the more money you make, the more you penetrate the markets, the more your brand equity grows. How was it now entering the space and managing those potential, what might be looking at conflicts? Now you are an infrastructure that includes what they are providing, but you are not just an airline. You have the landing rights, you have the other related infrastructure. You are supplying jet fuel, which they need. How difficult was it to get them to appreciate your role, and how that unison helped in actually moving the work of ACSA forward?
I would say a short answer is it was a bit of a challenge in terms of the shift. And one thing I've seen is, owing to this role, you end up playing much more of a key accounts management type of support to the airlines. because, when they are having other issues within the airport, then the first point of contact will always be you.
Yeah.
And so you need to try and mediate, whatever issues they're having, to try and resolve it, because you want to keep their business.
Yeah.
But in terms of building capacity that already exists within the airlines, from a domestic point of view, we have always played a role of support
Okay.
where it is required, because largely we know that a lot of our domestic airlines have the necessary capacity, and we have always played a role of ensuring that we best place ourselves in a position where, if they need any validation in terms of whatever they're planning, we are able to provide that.
Okay.
And providing support in terms of data provision, and in cases where they do not know or have any haven't done any research on the market, we can do a full-scale research, do a full-scale proposal, in order to give them insight, particularly on international markets that they may be interested in. Obviously, an interest of ours, so that we are able to also develop our route pipeline as we have designed. But a lot of the impactful work that we've done, I think, has been with the foreign airlines.
Absolutely.
Because these are people that have no market knowledge of South Africa. They do not understand the product that we offer as a country, and how unique each and every region is. What are the drivers of traffic in each and every one of these regions, which enables them to position their service, what sort of aeroplane will they deploy, what should the pricing actually look like, etc. So all that information really becomes a critical input into how these foreign airlines are able to plan their new routes and services into the country.
And I guess that's where your statistics qualification and background came in very handy. Yeah, you are able to crunch in the numbers, do the research and the like. An importance of a hub like OR Tambo.
Yeah.
Taking from its yesteryears John Smart's Airport to Johannesburg International, and now OR Tambo.
Yeah.
And I guess myself, who's a scholar of history and knowing the importance of naming iconic entry points, airports in countries with the iconic figures in that country. I mean, whether it's Jose Marti, in Cuba, JF Kennedy,
Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah, so the renaming to OR Tambo, an internationalist of note, fitted in that realm. But the importance of a hub like OR Tambo, where I will say the workings of an ACSA doesn't get to be appreciated. Everything is about the career.
Yeah.
And even if I'm in a queue, I'm delayed, it's SAA that is causing this delay.
Yeah.
So as you briefly touch on actual work beyond the business development and the route development work that you do, if you were to summarize what the role of an ACSA is, especially in facilities that you manage in the entire ecosystem, from cradle to the grave, in terms of the aviation space.
I think you're quite right. Not a lot of credit is given to the airports company, largely because we are mostly seen as a landlord.
Yeah.
We provide the infrastructure, the building, and multiple operators operate within our precinct, and they handle their own operations. But at the background, there is a lot of planning that goes into what type of infrastructure is required.
Yeah.
Forward-looking, what should the master plan of our specific airport look like? At what point do we trigger the development of critical infrastructure that is needed in order for us to facilitate the traffic? But also on a day-to-day, we have structures that we refer to as the AMC, which is really coordinating operations on the day.
Okay.
So you have various airlines that sit in that structure. They have cameras everywhere on the airside. They are sort of managing a single departure of their aeroplane, making sure that the cleaning company is there on time, making sure that the fuel bowser is there on time to ensure that they do not experience any delays. And this is an initiative that Airports Company developed, which is helping to coordinate all the operations within our airport to ensure that we are able to provide a very good service to our passengers going through our airports. But in terms of the significance and the importance of a hub such as OR Tambo, I think there's been a lot of talk around how OR Tambo is losing its hub status to airports in the east, and Cape Town is now overtaking OR Tambo as the hub in South Africa, and I think contextually what we have seen as ACSA, because we've done a lot of dedicated research in order to inform our own strategic positioning going forward, how we're going to allocate capital to each and every one of our assets. What we have seen is an emergence of hubs within the Central and Eastern Africa that have been crucial in growing aviation within the African context. So really necessary. And what we have seen is these countries and hubs have been growing quite quickly compared to what we have seen, say, maybe at airports such as OR Tambo International. But what we have as facts today is that OR Tambo is the most busiest airport in the continent, and has the largest number of foreign airlines operating to it. We're currently sitting at over 45 different foreign airlines that operate to OR Tambo, followed by Cape Town, which might be sitting at 23, 25. So almost half of the share that OR Tambo has. And in terms of contribution to the ACSA network, OR Tambo contributes just around 50% of the total traffic. But if you look at the domestic market alone, OR Tambo or the Gauteng region is actually the biggest source market for all the other regions. Cape Town included, Durban included. A lot of the
highest
passengers.
per capita income
Yes,
is here,
per
so
capita.
people go to and go to events and go to all the other markets.
The largest number of headquartered companies, multinational corporations, is actually here in Johannesburg. So we contribute to the growth and development of other regions within South Africa. And that's the importance, I think, of a hub like OR Tambo. It's not only important for South Africa in that other domestic regions that do not have international connectivity can really benefit from the multiple of routes that we have in terms of the OR Tambo route network, providing them with connectivity and access to global markets, both from a passenger and cargo point of view. So that's really the critical part that OR Tambo plays, but it also is an important asset for the region. Because most of our neighboring countries do not have the extent of global connectivity that we have. So a lot of them are still traveling via Johannesburg to get to the final destinations in Europe, in the US, South America, Far East Asia, and the Asia Pacific. And that's really the strategic importance that this airport plays primarily within the SADC region.
So being called an international airport doesn't necessarily guarantee you a direct exit or flight to international markets. And to your point, supporting domestic spaces where there are no connectivity. If you look at the Northwest Province, unfortunately, and I guess it's something, and especially for inland provinces, and especially for an exporter of domestic travel like Gauteng is, for growth of domestic tourism in the country. More regional networks becomes important. So if you look at the Northwest that doesn't have a functioning airport, but 45 minutes drive to OR Tambo, that becomes, that convenience that you are talking about. If you need to catch a flight to Amsterdam, you drive 3 hours from Gaborone, and then you are in Johannesburg, and you are able to connect. But that also brings in the intermodal, use of transport. So the hub status becomes that crucial, that it's not just a hub for South Africa or a hub for Johannesburg, but it becomes a regional hub. So if you were to get a regional hub coming from Botswana and you are driving to Cape Town, that will be another 11 hours.
Yes,
and I guess that convenience and where time is money, and proximity becomes crucial is this. It's not just an aspect of competition, but how regional distribution of travel it's shaped.
That's correct.
So let's look at Mpho, as we move forward in our segment, and especially the economics and the econometrics of the space, the socio-economic benefit of retaining one OR Tambo's hub status. Like we've just been mentioning, you are able to connect Botswana, you are able to connect the Northwest province, and also bring traffic in and seamlessly distribute, to other regions. But what are other socio-economic benefits, and what keeps sustaining? What do we need to do to keep sustaining this hub status?
So I think in terms of the socio-economic benefits, maybe I would like to start with the tourism one, because I think that's more easier for people. Is the more connectivity you have, the greater your chances of attracting foreign visitors into your country. And those people are coming in, paying for flight tickets. In some cases, this would be your own domestic airlines, such as SAA. So the more money the airlines are making, the more they can also reinvest into the local economy. But they also have to sleep somewhere when they're here. So they're paying for hotels, car rental, they're buying food, and most particular in this province, they're shopping. And all that money goes into contributing into the growth and development of the economy here in this province. And all that really adds up to a point where you would have, say, one route contributing, over 2 billion rand in terms of gross value added into this particular economy. And that's a direct impact that air connectivity has. But from an aviation point of view, the aviation value chain is quite wide. You have ground handlers that are benefiting from increased activities. They're benefiting from increased flights. Obviously, they employ local people. So they are engaged in creating meaningful employment, all because of increased air connectivity. You have the air traffic navigation services, ATNS, that is also benefiting from increased air connectivity, and multiple other stakeholders, such as freight forwarders, couriers, and everyone who might be involved in cargo. But the other aspect as well is also trade. If you look at the total air trade that we have seen primarily within the last financial year, I think it amounts to over 500 billion rands, which is quite substantial. OR Tambo accounts for about 75% of the total trade via air, which is quite significant.
So I'm told the earliest flight from Cape Town comes with the freshest fish that we get in the Santen restaurant.
100%.
And then the restaurants in Cape Town, they'll get it after.
Well, I'm not sure about that one, but there's really a crucial role that air travel plays in terms of trade, which obviously supports, part of the strategic imperatives that this country has.
Absolutely.
So the intermodal aspect of, our contribution. OR Tambo has one of the largest bus terminals. A lot of people don't actually know, and we have cross-border buses that are picking up people that are landing from flights and are traveling to areas such as Maseru, in Lesotho, Gaborone,
so
Botswana.
So the park station here.
Correct.
Something to that effect.
Something to that effect. And really, it just speaks to the importance that this asset or Tambo plays in terms of the growth and development, not only of ACSA, but of this country.
So let's look at, in Gauteng, there is this broader vision of creating a competitive global city region. And this global city region, among others, anchored on the model of aggregation. And looking at borders beyond geographic political boundaries, but look at boundaries as economic clusters. So the Gauteng city region have everything to do with Malatleni, Rustenburg, Potchefstroom, while they might be in other provinces, because Rustenburg form part of the Platinum Corridor route, and the like. So, born out of that vision, it's another sub-component, which is the aerotropolis. A city built out of the leverage of airport and the airport infrastructure, like you spoke about, the freight service, car hire, jet fuel, and many others. So obviously, all the flight attendants will want to be staying closer. Hence, the proliferation of a lot of accommodation establishments in Kempton Park and related space. So you are actually building a socio-economic cluster around the functioning of an airport. Therefore, the collapse of that airport means the collapse of a socio-economic fabric that you are trying to build. But its growth means also that growth. I don't think OR Tambo or Jan Smart's back then was built around that in mind. And noting those limitations, how do you actually grow this aerotropolis concept? And is there a specific role that adjacent ports, landing strips, and the like plays in creating this hub? Noting the aspect I spoke about almost a borderless environment. There's no different tax regime from Kempton Park, Ekurhuleni to Johannesburg. in that setup. So how do you nourish this, build this, and get the workings of an airport company, South Africa, among others, to be a key driver of this vision?
Yeah. So I think for me, it's all about collaboration. If you look at OR Tambo International, we are actually operating an asset that is in a designated SEZ.
Yeah.
And, obviously there's a vehicle from the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency that is responsible
for that,
in managing the development of that SEZ. So it's about how can we closely collaborate with stakeholders such as that own parcels of land around our airport precinct. How do we align our vision? We have significant undeveloped land around OR Tambo International. We have a long-term master plan that we have developed, and in there we are adding all this, planning around how do we build an aerotropolis, and what sort of developments can we really look at that will not only have a direct impact in generating revenue for the company, but also building the entire ecosystem. Looking at areas such as MROs, which are critical in the maintenance of aeroplanes. We need to have those support functions, primarily if we have an airport that is as busy as OR Tambo, to ensure that there are facilities that can allow for the overhauling of aeroplanes, to ensure that they are serviceable. Aerospace manufacturing of components, because we are the largest hub, the largest aircraft operators are based here in this province, the likes of Airlink, SAA, FlySafair, etc. And we have a bulk of these airlines flying here. And we also play a supporting role to other countries that do not have well-developed industries. People in Zimbabwe might be bringing their aeroplanes to be serviced here in the Gauteng region. So it's about how do we carefully plan in collaboration with other critical stakeholders, aligning our development objectives, having a master plan that incorporates all these elements in order to ensure that we build quite a robust and solid framework for aerotropolis to build the entire ecosystem.
So I guess the likes of your Rand Airport, they might, even if they are private, and the like, becomes crucial in responding to that. If you need to land a certain craft that is coming for service vis-a-vis landing it on the same landing strip that commercial flights are coming in, so that ecosystem around you helps and that's the importance of all the other stakeholders, and a hub literally serves for that purpose, because you then in a true spoke, hub and a spoke, now start servicing the others. We will come to the future plans, but to what extent does also your requirement? I mean, I was looking at the requirements to land an A380, and just what it does to the tarmac. It's just massive. Therefore, you might even need an ecosystem that spread beyond your confined geographic space. Mafikeng Airport, for example, that has the longest runway strip, might be 60 minutes away, or even less, 40 minutes away. Therefore, ACSA's vision and expansion strategy in a true global city region and aerotropolis space that doesn't necessarily look at boundaries, could be exploring to other places. You don't need a visa and the different passport to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Unlike if you want to build it in Botswana or in Zambia.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So let's look at that infrastructure that is required, to retain the hub. We spoke about the hard infrastructure, the mechanics. And I guess that's the socio-economic part, what it does. You therefore need those trained mechanics to be there. You need the right equipment, tools, and everything else. On the skills part, especially around sustaining yourselves, not just the air hostesses and the like, but an entire pool of skills. What is the setup right now? Is supply meeting demand? And is there room for growth as we deal also with the scourging rise of especially youth unemployment? Opportunities that are there in terms of skills pipeline that supports this aerotropolis vision and the ACSA's vision around serving as a hub and a catalyst.
Yeah. I honestly think that there is a skills shortage in the entire aviation sector. And I think what is easily seen is, if you look at the issues that ATNS has been having, a lot of it is really down to the fact that they have lost a lot of their trained, licensed and qualified air traffic controllers to countries such as the Middle East, Australia, and other, Saudi Arabia is one of the big ones, and even within ACSA, we've seen similar trends. Maybe not as dire as what ATNS has gone through, but nonetheless, this remains a challenge because these mega hubs are emerging. There's a lot of investment that is pouring into aviation assets within the Middle East. So everyone is going there. It's a tax-free environment. There's no pay as you earn. So already they provide quite a lucrative proposition for qualified individuals to really go and work in the Middle East. So I would say in terms of the critical skills that are required for an airports company such as ourselves, for sure there are some skills shortage. But the company has been quite proactive in terms of creating capacity both to train individuals in order to get them ready for the workplace, primarily giving them that aviation specific training. We have a training academy that engages in training people not only within ACSA but also within our other entities that operate within our precinct. We not only do local training of personnel, but we also train people from across the countries in Mozambique, in Namibia. People come to our training academy to get the right and necessary aviation training, and I think that has really put us in a position where we are able to create a pipeline of skills that are required in order to meet the growing demands that we have. And over and above that, we also have partnerships with other academic institutions that really gives us the validation that people require in order to bring their staff members to train with us. So in that aspect, I would say we've taken it upon ourselves as ACSA to ensure that we have capacity to train to build the skills that are required.
So the mooted university in Ekurhuleni, which might focus, on a bit of aviation, which focus on technology, and noting the economic structure of the region. You know, a manufacturing hub, you have the largest concentration of inland port, the SCZ and the jewelry precinct, you know, and the route connection between the country's capital city, the country's economic hub, Johannesburg, makes it that lucrative, you know, proposition, and therefore that might come in handy for yourselves, especially at the academy. Let's look at the surrounding infrastructure. I know it's not the role of ACSA. I was watching one documentary around Miami International Airport, and you know how Miami is positioned. It's this ultra luxury sport cars, you know, women with bikinis, ladies with the guys with boxer shorts, topless, muscles. Walking, muscles on the streets. You know, a real island lifestyle. And they were doing this exotic cars race and showcase on the tarmac at the Miami International, but this was live as in the airport didn't deactivate. So there were certain flights scheduled to land. So they were doing this show, racing against time. And, you know, because that flight will not delay. It needs to land on schedule, and everything was just being documented and how everything needs to happen. And I was like, wow. So that's another, you know, avenue where you can actually use an airport infrastructure, you know, to look at that space. Like I've said, it might not be the role of ACSA. So I move around the Kuruleni, I move within the airport precinct or the aerotropolis subspace that is there. There's not even a single restaurant that is, you know, aviation driven. You know, I dream of being, you know, served in a restaurant by the same waiters that are in a flight. You know, beautiful train accommodation in Limpopo, you know, run by our dear brother, Tadema. But I've not seen an accommodation establishment that is in an old jet, you know, that resembles the space, or is just Baba and his crazy sense, but just around building this airport city that equally resembles, you know, the space. And the reason I'm asking this is because my first time landing in Las Vegas airport, the first thing that I saw, apart from the slots, was the slots machines. And like at an airport, you can gamble.
Whilst waiting for your flight to board.
Yes, you can, you know, and that already changes your mindset about the place you are in. Am I just dreaming, or is it something that is incorporated into this vision of an airport city?
I think for me, Las Vegas was quite a culture shock. I have never seen the amount of gambling slots machines that I saw when I was in Vegas, and literally everywhere. Everywhere. You know, a hotel lobby, you'd find slots. You know, possibly maybe even the lavatories, you know. And you know, when I got to the airport, that was just, you know, the final throw. Because I couldn't believe that they had slots right at the boarding gates. You know, I just
so you must gamble your last
your last money. You must leave it in Vegas. But I really think that, you know, weaving aviation into the fabric of the city is something that is there, but maybe isolated. I mean, you go to airports such as Rand Airport, you know, you see the SAA Museum, you know, you get to see all those aircraft there.
95 jet that flew over East Park,
correct.
You know, retired there.
They're still there, yes. and the guys are trying their best to maintain them. Once I went there and we actually went in, and we could see how the aeroplane looked on the inside, etc. So there are pockets of spaces where you can go to really experience that aviation field. Given that we are one of the the largest aviation province within South Africa. However, it's not as elaborate as maybe what.
Is it because we are just underestimating the power of this, or maybe underplaying it? And I'll give you examples of other sectors. Let's take Bavaria in Germany. Everything is BMW. Everything is automotive. The skill sets that are there, even if your car is out of motor plan, you will get some Paulos somewhere there who will sort out this gearbox, And that's the point I'm trying to drive around, maybe. And it's not ACSA, like I'm saying. It's the authorities that are there. It's our entrepreneurs. And the reason I'm raising this, I'm not expecting ACSA to build a restaurant. That it's an opportunity for our entrepreneurs that are watching, that are listening to, Gauteng Live podcast, to be able to leverage what that space is about, so that the story can continue. If you create a route, an aviation route that takes you from the SAA Museum to the Benoni Museum and everything else, and now you go through this specific restaurant, you have this retired air controllers, retired pilots, that GTA and Ekurhuleni Tourism trains them and gave them accreditation into storytellers, tourist guides that start articulating the offerings around aviation. Do you think this is something that, as we drive Gauteng Air Access Network work around getting more partners, more airlines, and bringing connectivity, this could be the rippling effect of such a growth?
It should. I think it should. And I think a lot of what will be the legacy for a project such as this probably will be felt in the next 10 to 20 years. But I think what a entity such as Gauteng Air Access Network will be able to achieve really is, how do we bring in people into the aviation space? Because aviation has been quite distant. It's always been seen as an industry for the affluent,
the elite,
and people really have no perspective of what opportunities are available. And I think that has been the biggest constraint as to why we haven't really seen it woven into the province fabric. And I think platforms such as GAA will play a critical role in terms of exposing aviation to entrepreneurs, young people that are going into the workplace, that there are opportunities available that people can take advantage of. In order to build the entire skill set within the ecosystem.
Without a doubt. And how do we equally, and unfortunately, we know with the unfortunate part of what happened with our national carrier, and you'll correct me, every hub, every national key point, its operations and its legacy and its global influence is equally layered on the sustainability and competitiveness of the national carrier. So whether you look at Kenyan Airways, when you look at Ethiopian Airways and the Ethiopian hub, whether you look at Qatar, whether you look at the Emirates, with Dubai, whether you look at British Airways, with London Heathrow, or American Airlines, there is that national carrier carrying, the entire systems, and as a hub, the other feeder systems also starts to benefit.
Yeah.
Therefore, you now start having the emergence of even national carrier, Gauteng Airline, Stellenbosch Airline, that feeds on this thing that continues to carry the national identity.
Yeah.
Do you have, as part of your stakeholder ecosystem, such conversations with the national carrier? And do you think with this turnaround, they're heading in the right direction? Is there any specific support that you guys as Airports company, provides? Or you are landlord, every one is equal here, and it's Fagimaluzobon.
I would say it's not the latter.
Okay.
We work very closely with the national carrier. There has been quite a big contention around this national carrier designation.
Yeah.
Largely because you have airlines such as FlySafair that pretty much account for 2/3 of the entire domestic market.
Yeah.
So they are by far the largest airline domestically.
Yeah.
And
But SAFE is at there's South Africa there.
Yeah. And the official Springboks airline.
Airline partner, Yeah.
And you also have Airlink that has quite an extensive network.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Largest carrier with respect to the number of flights, which is what we refer to as air traffic movements. That also, lays a claim to, the status of being a national carrier. So, our goal is to work with everyone.
Yeah.
To ensure that we are able to meet the broader development objectives of the company as well as the country.
Yeah.
And we are not tied into semantics of
who carries the national flag.
correct.
Yeah. But I guess the point.
But officially, SAA carries the national flag. That's undeniable.
Yeah.
And we've seen quite a resurgence from the airline. There's a lot of positive work that I think is just going under the radar, and they're not really
look
being
at the Australian market
correct
with that route,
correct,
and just the reception and just having that tail, in market.
100%.
There's just something. I mean, I was at JFK and looking at the tarmac, and I was like, "There's something missing here. there's just one color, missing here to complete the status of this JFK International Airport hub.
Yeah,
because surely,
that's true.
Okay,
and I think if I look at what's happening there, I would say SAA will be one of the growth levers for OR Tambo and for the province, for us to really drive that accelerated growth in air traffic.
To what extent does that now brings in, I know it's one of the elephant in the room, and how our aviation and transportation policy is structured, in the country, and I'm not sure if it's a right thing to club, all models of transport into one policy segment, or as the trajectory goes, the Land Transport Act and the aviation and the like. But to what extent does, as we now deal with reality, what is the reality of globalization? The reality of shrinking markets and everything just coming together. Business goes that direction. We are looking at business downsizing, consolidating, being agile, being sharp, dealing with efficiencies. And there's still a battle, especially in the continent, with the liberalization of the space. And what does that mean exactly with this nature given space that everybody fights for it
Yeah.
as if it belongs to everybody. So isn't it the liberalization actually the starting point? Because it doesn't belong to anyone, or therefore, how do we ensure that this opening of the airwaves actually benefits developing countries like ourselves, and doesn't open up for another way of being colonized through heavy infrastructure and resource laden initiatives, because everything is now open. Therefore, the one with the big pockets runs the tune. Your take on this?
So I think your last statement is actually the one that has been driving a lot of policy development and posture from most of the countries, is the fear of liberalization benefiting the well-developed and entities that are already geared for growth. So there might be a view that if we were to open up within the continent, Ethiopian Airlines, Kenya Airways, maybe SAA might be the only airlines benefiting. And I think the other scare as well is if you are a foreign nation but are heavily dependent on a foreign airline for aviation connectivity, it presents a risk that if things don't go according to plan, and you have no internal capacity, then your future, your future is basically determined or held elsewhere. So it is this right of self-determination that has led to most countries wanting to have their own national carriers.
Absolutely.
And what we have seen is when countries have initiatives to have their own national carriers, they are more inclined to open. Because they feel that opening will not only benefit one player, but also airlines that come from their own jurisdiction.
But I guess there's also, like I was saying, opportunities for regional flights, opportunities. We've seen the emergence of private airports and the like, and the emergence of localized, like in other markets. But in a hub and spoke again, there's always a substructure that holds everything down. I get you.
And I think from our perspective as ACSA, that's really our strategic approach, is creating an airport system both in South Africa and in the SADC region, where you have 3 primary hubs in terms of the 3 international regions, or the 3
airports,
key economic hubs in the Western Cape, Gauteng, as well as the KZN region, being anchor airports and providing international and global access to other regional airports, both ACSA owned and non-ACSA owned.
100%.
And these airports not only play a vital role for connectivity for South African domestic airports, ACSA owned and non-ACSA owned, but also for international airports. In the likes of Swaziland, Lesotho, Mozambique in particular. And that's really our approach in terms of how we develop and structure our route network.
The space is very capital intensive. Lot of capital investment requires. The route might not. The route is part of the whole ecosystem. So when you are dealing with pipeline, route development, building, a lot of investment is required there. You might not physically be involved in putting up any incentives to get the airlines to come through. But what you put up as the supply, capabilities to be able to provide safe landing, to be able to provide taxing facilities to be able to provide storage, technical services, and the like commercial spaces, stuff that supports the entire aviation ecosystem, staff, accommodation that houses the crews, cabin crews, and the like, and that much needed restaurant of mine, and the like. But so where do you get the money from? Since before 2010, I've seen massive expansion at the OR Tambo airports. There's continuous expansion at Cape Town. And I've seen how King Shaka have also equally added the SEZ there, nicely. And you now have two models that you can look at how, that drives investment and export development and the like. So where do you get the money from to have this continuous building beyond the demand that is required? As you have more airlines, you need more aviation facilities. You need more post areas. And what has been the environment there? Are you playing in the stock market?
So we're playing in all areas,
Okay.
but I think primary to your question is the ACSA business model is really one that is structured in us getting core revenue
Okay.
from our airline clients.
Okay.
So our core business is really the aeronautical revenue
Side.
stream,
Yeah.
where airlines land and we charge them landing fees. The passengers that are in those aeroplanes will pay a passenger handling fee.
Yeah.
And if an airline overstays on our runway for over or the airside for over 4 hours, we will then charge them for parking fees.
Yeah.
That's the core side of our business.
Yeah.
But over and above that, we generate revenue from what we call non-aeronautical revenue streams, and this includes car rental, car park at the airport.
Yeah, the most expensive, yeah.
It's actually not the most
but
expensive.
But I guess it comes with the territory and, the space. You can't expect to pay the same amount like you are paying in a mall.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And we own hotel facilities within our airports. OR Tambo being an example. The Intercontinental is an ACSA-owned hotel, 100%. The Southern Sun on the other side of the airport is also a 100% owned ACSA property. But we also have other non-aeronautical properties within our precinct that helps us generate revenue.
Yeah.
And that's really our two main core streams.
Yeah.
And the money we generate from all these revenue streams is then what we then use to drive the development of our infrastructure.
But I guess that also shows the because I don't think that is enough.
Yes.
That shows the funding gap. That shows sometimes why it takes time to actually, despite the demand, despite the increase in traffic, to put up, a new terminal.
Yeah.
Or improve gates. But I guess there's certain must-have non-compromise space, security, safety, the ablution facilities, and the stuff that makes. So in terms of the infrastructure and within your work as in route development, so you are like us creating demand here for Gauteng, and the products and the space are not ready to accept the demand. So in your view, as we strive to get more, open up new routes, get those routes that have not been able to come back post the pandemic, what do you think are the two main things that especially OR Tambo International needs to fix?
Yeah. The airport specifically?
Yes. Yeah.
I think there's a need for additional capacity at the airport. We're already facing a few constraints in terms of slots, where airlines might be desiring to land at a specific time but are unable to do so, largely because there's just not enough capacity. So I think that's the biggest element that we need to address, both as ACSA and as ATNS, to ensure that we have adequate capacity to facilitate the development of new routes and traffic into the airport. But over and above that is just ensuring that we have world-class infrastructure that meet the needs of our clients, both the airlines and the passengers. So, we're going on a massive capital expenditure drive, spending about over 21 billion in the next 5 years. And some of that would go into making sure that we are able to improve our current infrastructure. As George said, at Meetings Africa, that you could actually eat at the OR Tambo toilets, which was not possible before. And these are just signs of the reinvestment that ACSA is making to ensure that we have world-class infrastructure.
But does that include jet fuel? A crucial aspect, especially in recent days. My fear is that with geopolitics and regional wars now, and clearly the current wars and fights have something to do with fuel and energy. Does those types of capital investments do they also include ensuring a steady supply of jet fuel, among others that are actually the energy behind you flying high and landing softly?
I think the area of jet fuel, you're quite right, is impacted by geopolitics. And our approach has always been to carefully coordinate the planning of the supply of Jet A1 to ensure that we build some robustness in terms of the global supply chain for jet fuel into our airports. But a lot of what we have seen as impact in that area for ACSA has always lied outside of ACSA's control. The recent jet fuel issues, my understanding has always been a SARS dispute between the fuel majors and the entity SARS, which then in turn impacts us. Before that, it was just an issue of infrastructure challenges, in terms of the floods that damaged the pipelines from KwaZulu-Natal into the inland, that limited the supply of Jet A1. Coupled to that was the shutdown of one of the key refineries because of fire that broke out there. So there's been a series of incidents that have been way outside of ACSA's control. But we've taken proactive measures to ensure that we build some redundancy and that we are not caught in a situation where we don't have any fuel supply. But I think the geopolitical impact is what's more scary than ever. Just with the current war alone, we've seen a significant spike in energy prices, which is not good for aviation.
Absolutely. Because now the passenger must pay Now the supplier must pay.
Yes.
The entire ecosystem
Yes.
will have to pay the brunt
That's
for that.
That's
And
true.
will you say that could be in briefly amongst the other lobbying and collaborative work the Gauteng Air Access Network, among
Yes.
others, needs to do with the relevant partners in the space, whether it's National Department of Transport, whether it's the suppliers space, because retaining that competitiveness needs to be as robust as possible to withstand any internal or external shocks.
That's 100% on the mark. The ability of Gauteng Air Access to have a lobbying voice
Yeah.
is quite an important one, because in certain cases, I think there are decisions that are taken where people do not have the full extent of what the impact is.
Yeah.
A situation wherein we have fuel shortage owing to a SARS dispute,
Yeah.
which is hurting the economy.
Yeah.
And SARS being a collector of taxes, it just looks
And
like
it's not like you can't trace this defaulter. You know the
true.
defaulter
That's
is
true.
this
That's
one.
true.
There could be a mechanism to
Correct.
get, while the wheels of the
Yes,
economy are
yes.
running.
Let's keep
Got
the
you.
economy going.
Yeah.
And so our ability to lobby is to really outline the impact that certain decisions are having
Yeah.
in the overall objective of the country to drive economic growth.
And how do you do your planning, Mpho, especially in this uncertain global uncertainties period? I guess it might be a very tough
Very tough.
work to do. You now have the pipeline for fuel, gas and oil shut down by Iran, and many of all of these, the Venezuelan oil issue, but just the network of travel. We have seen airlines grounded in Dubai, among others. How do you plan for all these uncertainties? And equally, does that also opens up the need for equally a robust domestic pipeline that, as we have seen during COVID, without any international airlines landing,
Keeping everything going.
what kept the fires burning was a strong and resilient domestic tourism base. Therefore, how do we build that, and how do we incorporate that into our risk mitigation, but also our expansion plans and forward planning?
Yeah. So I think managing this entire dynamic boils down to risk management, because there's no way you can plan for it.
Yeah.
It's one of those events that one can never predict. But having a solid risk management approach like we have at ACSA always allows us to be a step ahead in terms of how do we put things in place to mitigate against the foreseeable risks. So the current issues, of the escalating war in the Middle East has also had an impact on ACSA. A day we receive at OR Tambo 7 flights. 8 flights. 1 from Etihad. 4 from Emirates, and 3 from Qatar. That are now all grounded. Those aeroplanes have been on our tarmac since the war broke out, and they are unable to return to their base. And ordinarily, the flights that we would have been receiving on a day-to-day basis are now not coming through because those airliners are grounded in Dubai. And these aeroplanes were carrying a significant number of people. Some who were destined in the Middle East, but some connecting to beyond points. So it's really been a massive inconvenience for our passengers, but also a financial strain to us because, that is revenue that we would have been generating that we are not. But, there's been a lot of proactive work in terms of helping the passengers get reaccommodated into other airliners that are flying. The likes of Ethiopian Airlines, British Airways, Lufthansa, and other airlines that are still operational have been, picking up the slack here and there. But I think it boils down to, planning and having a strong risk management approach.
Yeah, as we move towards wrapping up, time flies when, you are in, cooking mode and you are deep in issues. We're just coming from the backdrop of Meetings Africa, an important platform which also had an ever-growing airline pavilion, which has now become, an integral part of Meetings Africa offerings. And Gauteng being a business destination, and as we always say, we are a loud and proud pleasure destination of choice, so leveraging on the leisure offerings, again, and a hub and a spoke. So you use business to then distribute to your leisure offerings. To what extent is retaining and growing our MICE sector playing a key role in assisting your effort as ACSA in routes development, but the work of the Gauteng Air Access Network, because those are almost confirmed numbers. If it's international conference and coming from 3-4 markets, you almost have confirmed numbers with specific dates that you can even tailor your offering to showcase that you can do fast track access, business conference reception services at the airports and the like, and even on-flight tailored engagements with the delegates that they can engage even with the conference or their incentives sessions or exhibition even before they land.
I think MICE for me is quite a vital component of driving air travel demand into this region and province particularly. We have a lot of assets that can compete globally with other hosting nations. We have, I think, struggled with reputational issues around safety that I think are over-exaggerated, and sometimes tends to form a perception. But I have seen a renewed sense of the work that a lot of stakeholders are doing, including the Gauteng tourism and South African tourism and the Gauteng Air Access in general, in driving a lot of MICE events and other form of events that are crucial in driving demand to this province. And I think what we've seen is every time we are having these hostings, there's essentially a spike in air travel, which just shows how far these events are going in terms of stimulating the appetite to travel. And I think that this should be the key component in terms of this province in particular, redefining and packaging its product offering.
Absolutely.
I think MICE is part of the product that this province has to offer, and just events in general. I think hosting F1 would be a significant leap in terms of product development, and I think it would actually reestablish us as a world-class global destination,
without a doubt,
which has a propensity to actually even attract markets that we had no access to.
Absolutely.
Just by the sheer fact that they support the sport. So I cannot emphasize more on how critical this segment actually plays in terms of the development of air traffic in this
And
province.
to what extent have the efforts been boosted by the successful hosting of the G20 summit? I mean, I was looking at how you guys were busy, even allowing, cameras to be in other spaces that normally you don't get to see. We don't get to show, and you get to see how the entire ecosystem is now activated. So just during COVID, I was told the booming business, because there were no international flight, was content creation.
Yeah.
With lots of people going to Lanseria Airport and taking videos and content
inside the private jet.
In those private jet and say, "Good life lives here."
Yeah.
Whereas the shutters are closed, and but the unlocking of the entire ecosystems. There's now production crews. On the tarmac, there's VIP cars there. Everybody is looking forward to the military or the ceremonial guard reception for the arriving heads of states.
Yeah.
You had over 45 head of states here, and everything went smoothly. So to what extent was that, has that, reinforced our MICE capability? But, the meetings doesn't start in the boardroom. It starts when you land. It starts when you make that booking, and how that reception is made at the airport. And equally the importance of the entire human capacity, the Home Affairs official that gives you that warm South African Ubuntu welcome to the security, to the guy at the bathrooms.
I think the impact that hosting G20 had, and for this province, particularly from hosting the BRICS summit in the previous year, it just emphasized the fact that we have the capacity and the capability of hosting events of such a large scale. And the manner in which the whole thing was executed, the collaborative effort, from law enforcement to ourselves as airports company, to the air traffic control, and to everyone on the ground, was actually seamless. We had rooms where we were coordinating operations, working with other airports in cases where we didn't have capacity, where heads of states were landing at the same time. Some were moving into Lanseria, etc. So it was quite a massive feat, but I think we were able to stand and show that this province is more than capable of hosting these events, and I think went quite a long way to dispelling the narrative.
That one that we were talking about.
Yes.
And you have touched on it as we close up now. You touched on the sports entertainment, the lifestyle space, our creative and cultural industries. Like I've always say, if you are a competitive city region and you take yourself serious, you must have an F1 event, you must have a tennis open tournament, you must have a golf tournament, you must have a fashion show event that is of global nature, you must have a well-functioning stock exchange market, you must have a football derby, and all these events are part of a global network, we have seen the like of France, where you have the French Open. It also coincides with Cannes Film Festival. It also coincides with the Monaco F1 Grand Prix. So when you are in that space, you are actually staying another days. You are leveraging the power of sports entertainment. It is something that we are able to build into the Gauteng Air Access Network model, the ACSA model. We just come from the Soweto Derby, seeing a lot of regional, audiences coming in. So the same preferential treatment might not be at the same scale of heads of states, but some operations that appreciate this audience, some preferential services that appreciate the Springbok All Blacks Titanic clash, and the dialectical link between that New Zealand and South Africa route and the expatriate routes that are there and the like, so to what extent do we build a facility that it's geared towards driving our global competitiveness around sports entertainment, around the cultural and creative industries, and offering the assets that are there, this Kunye weekend, on the backdrop of a Kunye Nairobi. At what point does a Kenyan Airways or an Airlink that does both markets become a resource to the events organizers that are driving brands that are also responsible for numbers and regional markets?
I think that there's quite a big role that the Gauteng Air Access can play in terms of bridging the gap between, the events promoters and the airlines. Because we have a network of stakeholders that have connections to both sides. But literally, you might find that these people just do not have access. We've had quite a few times where we have worked with event promoters, Homecoming, connected them with a Tanzanian airline. They were planning to have, one of their homecomings in Zanzibar. So already we are playing in that space.
I guess even the guys in Portugal with the Afro Chillers and the like.
And so I think it's something that is vitally important because I think that we have all the ingredients. All the ingredients you mentioned, hopefully F1 might be coming through, but, we've got golf assets that world class and, and many other aspects around the sporting part. I have a friend that stays in Kenya, and he was telling me that, the only time he's a big rugby fan. The only time he can see an All Blacks team playing that is feasible for him is when they're playing South Africa here in South Africa. So every time the Springboks are here, we're seeing growing numbers of rugby fans from all over Africa descending down.
And I guess Kenya with the sevens teams and the growth there, and that's how it builds into this love and
100%
and market.
Yes, correct. So I think it's about how do we coordinate packaging all these things to make sure that they yield the maximum impact for both the airlines as well as the event promoters, and how packaging those correctly could accrue a significant dividends for the province.
During the season at Ibiza, there's nothing less than 200 and something flights, and talking to Black Coffee, he was saying that's one of the competitive edge. A small island, which it operates on a base of seasonality. Opens up for 6 months, makes the money for the 12 months. Any
just in the 6 months.
Just in the 6 months. Any key learnings that we could pick up there, and caters for all segments, and the timing. Some of it coincide with the off-season of some of the big leagues, in the world. So you have players going on holiday, they're earmarked for that, specific purpose. Our growing dance music producers are filling up, the charts with produced songs here. Any key lessons that we could pick up there? And moving into the hard infrastructure, say Ultra, Johannesburg now coming in April. Do we envisage a partnership with some of the acts? We can imagine a Shimza playlist playing at OR Tambo. airport musical system demonstrating Shimza's residency at Ultra, and just how you use the power of music and some of the offerings that are there when you download the airport's company app or you are getting into the Wi-Fi. You must purchase one song, and there's those and like again, am I in my dreamland, or it's something that could be leveraged around the sports entertainment and lifestyle sector, where now ultra organizers, Kunye organizers, Homecoming are now looking at ACSA and the airlines ecosystem differently beyond just transporting, or putting bums on the seats.
I think it's quite a possibility, and I think we have quite a dynamic team at marketing that are always looking for opportunities to partner. Anything that could derive value for us, from a macro point of view, is always opportunities that they're looking for. So I think there's a very good conversation to be had on that one.
Absolutely, including airline partners where I'm able to select and I'm a piano playlist.
That's true.
In the screen. I mean, surely, Mpho, it can't be that we don't have.
No, it can't.
We don't have such, including the audio visuals. Imagine a piece of black coffee playing in the Sterfontein cave, caves being part of the audio visuals and production that sits on an SAA long haul flight. It might not be as elaborate as how the Emirates does it when you land in Dubai, or how the Egyptian does it when you land, at the pyramids. But surely there should be something from the creative and cultural industries that we embed into our aviation space. You remember one of my stories in the aviation was probably the biggest turbulence I've ever experienced coming out of Sao Paulo. And I was seeing some ladies started, SAA back then, very nice wines, indulging, very loud. I'll not say which country they were from. And when those turbulences hit, it lasted for about 25-30 minutes. The trays falling. I saw those ladies with the Bibles out, praying and praying. The wines were now subdued. And what gave me comfort, I can tell you, that nothing's going to happen, was that the aircraft we were using was the one that was painted with the South African flag colors, if you remember. So it was transporting the Springboks and it was transporting Bafana.
I know the aeroplane.
So I said, there's no way something's going to happen to this flight. This flight is carrying national players, and just by branding and that, So for me, it's just those, specific moments that you are able to use the power of branding to emphasize, some of how to deal with other reputation issues. So 2027 is the year of the Cricket World Cup. Again, are we ready? Will we not be rushing into a panic mode? Hopefully with the geopolitics set up. And again, 2026 is the FIFA World Cup, more going out than, but again, being that regional hub where everybody goes through you, any specific arrangements that you are putting up?
So I think Cricket World Cup, I would say we are more than ready.
Okay.
In terms of facilitating air traffic through our airports, we have all the critical connections to, all the major cricket playing nations that we anticipate, the UK,
New Zealand,
Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan. And one missing key link is the direct route to India. which I think will already be in place by the time the World Cup is.
You've heard it for the first time on Gauteng Lifve, India route to Johannesburg direct coming. So let's make it happen.
So I think that's the critical component that would really, complete our preparedness for hosting the World Cup. But, in terms of interconnectivity with the other hosting nations, we...
Even America has a cricket team.
Yes, correct.
And with the impressive numbers coming from the US, could complement the UK numbers and give us some...
That's very true.
Some sensible...
True,
so therefore, that planning follows the investment and the trade and the business strategy.
That's true.
And I guess the leisure positioning where you're using a leisure sports activity to overlay your business and trade offerings becomes crucial. I'm told the most expensive and more money-making part of an aircraft is the belly. So it can fly without people and you still make money. How true is it?
Well, the most revenue-generating piece of real estate on an aeroplane is business class.
Okay.
Because that's where most of the
But
airlines
we are all arriving at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They generate significant portions of their revenue from the front of the cabin, but the belly is a significant revenue generator. Pre-COVID, I think the average was around 10%, where 10% of the total airlines revenue would come from the belly capacity or from cargo. But that ratio has now increased, and in some instances reaching close to 20%.
Wow.
Largely because of all these structural changes that we've seen in the air cargo markets post-COVID environment, and cargo is playing quite a critical role now in terms of generating revenues for the airlines and helping them sustain some of the routes that they operate is attributed to.
So the guys at BMW South Africa here, they were saying the Lufthansa airline now with the overnight flight, when they land in the morning, they are able to actually order the parts. The next day the parts arrive through that flight, and they are able to fix your car
100%
much quicker. And I guess that's the untold aspect around how this aviation business drives also our everyday business needs. And the Germany Johannesburg direct flight, which was recently launched, now enables and catalyzes the operation of a major automotive industry here in South Africa. Why are you moving shops and everything out of the main airports? What is the plan there?
Which shops?
I'm told everything is moving out. You are relocating everybody to a new building.
New building?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Okay, so I'll still be able to buy my Xhosa outfit and rush to my terminal.
Okay. No, there's a new terminal redevelopment plan that we are planning. And this is to create a very strong retail offering at our airports.
Okay.
Is to redesign the space, and essentially we will still have most of the retailers within that space, but the reason why they're being relocated is so that we can redesign the space.
Okay.
Hopefully to give
so it's
our
almost
passengers
like
a better experience.
an airport mall.
Correct.
with the geographic space. But I guess that opens up also more opportunities.
Yeah.
We can have a GP lifestyle clothing label, it done in association with Gauteng Tourism, with designers from our townships.
Sure.
Obviously, with authentic material vetted. That opens up, opportunities like that, so that you don't just have French and European companies at the airports because it's a tradition.
Yeah.
But what makes the King Shaka Airport, OR Tambo Airport, Johannesburg, OR Tambo, and Cape Town different and African, beyond the giraffes and the drums that get sold there, but our authentic offerings that are there. No. Lastly, your weirdest moment in your working, especially in the aviation space, it might be during your flying period.
Weirdest moment.
I've shared mine.
Yeah. I got a call from a client that was hoping I could assist them with getting a permit to land, but they had already landed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they couldn't disembark the passengers from the aeroplane because they didn't have a permit.
Yeah.
But by the time they called me, they're already on the on the tarmac. So I thought, what can I do?
Yeah, you've landed already.
You've landed already. So I think that was weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's really so. Mpho, really, thank you for availing your time. You can see we can go over and over, and there's a need for us to have actually a dedicated, series that empowers, that teaches, that also mobilize stakeholders, and I guess our partners like the Tourism Business Council of SA, TBCSA, truly can come on board to ensure that the work of air access networks and the initiative by national to establish the National Air Access Body could get these types of engagement where we empower but also mobilize our young people to also not just look at aviation like me and you were doing with the Spitfires and all those paper jets that we were building, but equally the use of technology in the work that we do. We are now subjected to live wars on our screens, on our phones, and we see the importance of aviation, drone usage, precision, and all of those things that you studied that now comes in handy in the work you do.
True.
But it's something that I guess we will work on. We will work on getting even the ACSA CEO to come on studio.
I think she'd be delighted.
Delighted, to come and talk more about the ACSA ecosystem, the African strategy and expansion within the country. But thank you very much for availing your time and sharing with us, a wealth of experience, and wishing you all the best of luck in the work of the network and the work you do. Very important work you do there at the national key points and all the other space. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Barba.
Yeah, that has been Mpho Rambau, especially from ACSA, who is responsible for business and route development and traffic development at ACSA, how we strive to get more routes into the destination. He has been able to reflect on his journey, but also the importance of getting more flights into the destination, how that translates into more bumps into our hotel rooms, into our museums, into our heritage sites. And the more we have skilled people, the more we become competitiveness, and the more we are able to restrain the outside shocks that might be coming from the pandemics, the wars, and all of these things that we can't plan for. The importance of risk management in mitigating and forward planning all of this, but equally emphasizing the importance of opportunities that are available for you within the creator space, within the event space, and the centrality of the MICE meetings, conferences, events, and exhibition sector in driving our competitiveness and actually harnessing on the gains recorded by the likes of the G20. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We are at I Love Gauteng on Facebook, at Visit Gauteng on Instagram and on TikTok. We are also having the Visit Gauteng mobile app, which you can download. You might be running a small aviation business. You might be into offering tailored suits for those aviation staff, cabin crew that Mpho can link you to. Therefore, the Gauteng mobile app, Visit Gauteng mobile app, become your platform that we can load, create your own business profile for free, and allow us to share your story and your offering to the rest of the world. Until the next episode, let's continue polishing those diamonds, those golds that's stored underneath in our everyday work as we become champion host and we become the gold that is no longer underneath, but the gold that is found in our people. Second round.